I was one way and now I'm not. Man, that's my line. I was like in bad shape and now I'm not. I arrived at Biologix Center about 14 months ago, something like that, 15 months ago. I remember that I had a blood transfusion the day before I got on the airplane to come to Biologix. My doctor knew I was going to be gone for a month. Hemoglobin and red blood cell count was kind of low. They wanted to give me a boost before I took off. And that was units 9 and 10 of blood that I had in the past 6 weeks. So I had kind of crashed in July. I went to the ER in really bad biological blood level condition. I got 6 units of blood. I got a bunch of antibiotics. I was in the ICU for like 3 days. They patched me up and kind of got me going again. I needed another 2 units of blood a few weeks later. I needed another 2 units before I came to Biologix. So that was 10 units of blood. I arrive at Biologix. And I meet with the doctors, we do the walkthrough, and I get the mark. Here's what's going on. Your body is producing replicating abnormal blood cells. We're not a cancer treatment center. We're not treating you for cancer. What we're going to do is we're going to try to find out why your body is reproducing abnormal blood cells and see how we might be able to treat you where your body stops doing that. So you are an abnormal cell replication patient. Let's see what we can do, what your body needs. How can we address abnormal cell replication and stop that process? And that's where we went forward. And I was there for 4 weeks initially. And my situation was a little unique, but at the end, every Friday, I would go to get blood work done. So by Wednesday of the following week, we would have the results of the blood work that was done on Friday. So I started on Monday, we did blood on Friday, we looked at blood on Wednesday, and I kid you not, this happened every week. And every week, independent lab. This isn't the Biologix pharmacy or lab, down the hall. This is an independent lab. And we watched blood levels correct every week. We saw high things come down. We saw low things go up. Not everything corrected immediately, but the trend began. The healing trend began. Regardless of what I felt, I saw factual lab test results saying that 1,000, it's down to about 850 this week. So here I am now going, oh my gosh, look at this. And I'm just getting started, dude. I still got 3 more weeks of therapy. I had my wife and my mother-in-law travel with me to Tennessee because none of us were sure I was going to make it from the curb to the gate to get on the airplane. I had asked the airlines to provide one of those little golf cart guys, to pick you up and take you over to the gate because I was that weak. I was that bad. I was not bedridden, but bed restricted. I didn't have energy prior to going. I had doctors talking bad things in my ears, so my spirit was down. It was a bad part. It was like 2020 all over again, if you know what I mean, right? So anyway, I forgot that I had even asked for assistance at the airport, so I was able to get through to the gate. I get to Biologix. By the end of the first week, I'm telling mother-in-law and wife, if you guys want to go back home, you can go. I got this. I am feeling so much better. It was a 180-degree turn. I mean, I just went from doom and gloom to hope and glory. I knew I was in the right place. I knew I was getting the right thing. I knew I was going to the right place before I left. I told my doctor, give me 2 units, give me a boost, get me on that plane, just get me to Biologix, just get me there. I'll be fine. I just got to get there. I just knew that in my heart of hearts. That's why I call it the hem of the garment experience that I had at Biologix. Just like the woman with the issue of blood in the Bible, she said, if I could just touch the hem of the garment of this man, just let me touch a fiber and I'll be fine. And that's the attitude I had going into Biologix. Why? I don't know. Research on the internet, visiting the website, reading Dr. Jernigan's book. Everyday Miracles by God's Design. I was pumped. I was ready. I was like, I want to be where this man who wrote this book that has this relationship, this understanding with God, I want to be where he has influence. If I can just touch the hem of the garment of the guy he trained, I'll be fine. And that's what happened. And so again, every week, blood got better, blood got better. Wife went home, mother-in-law stayed with me. So not everything was perfect, but it was pretty close, okay? So now I'll fast forward a little bit because before I left to go to the Biologix Center, I had made an appointment with my oncologist. She says, okay, I'll see you in like 5 or 6 weeks. We'll meet when you get back and we'll see how you're doing. Footnote, her notes said something along the lines of, Mark's going to some expensive place out in Tennessee to get some kind of wacky treatment or something, and he doesn't want to take the meds. He says his God is going to heal him. Well, she was kind of close on, I said, by his stripes, I'm healed, Doc. God's already healed me. Whose report am I going to believe? His or yours? You got trumped. I'm sorry. I'm going with what the word of God has said, okay? So, all right, so here we are. We're at our meeting, and I'm sitting in the room waiting for the doctor. She walks into the room. Her mouth drops open. Her eyes are as big as saucers. Now, this is an oncologist, hematologist, okay? She points at me and she says, oh my gosh, I am so proud of you. Now, mind you, I've been watching my labs for 4 weeks, so I already know what's going on. She's looking at the mark before he left for Biologix and the lab reports I had done the week before our meeting after my trip to Biologix. So where I'm seeing progression week by week, she's kind of seeing, if you will, a before and after. It's not really an after, but it's a before and a current. And she said, when I looked at your labs and I looked at your chart, I almost thought I had opened the wrong chart. I thought I was looking at a different patient. What I am looking at now is not the same guy that I saw a month, 5, 6 weeks ago. But you told me that the pill couldn't do this. So what the what? And she stops mid-sentence. I said, look, Doc, it's working. Let's just keep doing what we're doing because it's working. And she said, yeah, it's working. Just keep doing it. Just don't stop taking the meds. So I didn't. I did later, but I kept taking them for a while. So there is my doctor's unofficial, non-laboratory report, just her reaction of what she saw in my labs before and after. But I got labs that show the same thing. I wasn't as astonished as she was because I had been watching it happen. I'm walking in this body. I know what I feel. I came back home and I was so ready to work. When I showed up, I'm self-employed. When I showed up at my first job, I hadn't worked in 6 weeks. That was the first appointment I had had in 6 weeks. I worked an 8-hour day and came home non-exhausted. I came home like I had just gone to work that day. So Biologix is not your conventional go to the doctor solution place. None of that is going to happen at Biologix. Pretty much, okay? But here's the deal, folks. So we go to the doctor that has been to Harvard or whatever the great med schools are, and we get these doctors and they tell us whatever, and then we get a second opinion, and it's generally close to the same thing. Maybe their approach to treatment is a little different, but they all kind of say, yeah, we did the lab work and this is happening or that's happening. And so we're getting Western medicine conventional treatment, and we're getting Western medicine conventional results. Well, if that was working, you wouldn't be watching me right now. Obviously, we need something different to happen. We're still looking. We don't have the answer yet. We're not comfortable with what we've been told or with how we've been treated. It's not getting better. We need a different result, and we're still looking. And then we find Biologix, and they're talking all of this stuff that our regular medical doctor couldn't speak to, doesn't know anything about. They're going to say it's wacky and it's crazy and it's a waste of time and money. And let's talk about money. If it was free, you wouldn't be watching me. You'd be signing up and going in and go, well, if it's free, you can't, what do I have to lose? Best money I ever spent. I remember crying, laying in my bed and crying, and couldn't form the words to tell my wife, I gotta work. We can't do this. I can't be non-functional. And so what price do you put on becoming functional again? What price do you put on, I was one way, but now I'm not? Something like that. In The Chosen, Mary Magdalene was speaking of her experience with Jesus. And she says, I was one way and now I'm not. Man, that's my line. That's my takeaway from The Chosen. I was like in bad shape and now I'm not. I've done a testimony in the office. I rang the healing bell. I'm here again. I've done reviews online. I've put my personal cell phone number out there. I am an advocate. I am here. I am a Biologix Center fan. I'm on Team Biologix. Not literally. I'm not on payroll, or I'm not, right? I don't work for them. I'm just a patient. But I look at all of the testimonials online. I just saw a couple this morning, I think, of some beautiful young lady, like 15 years old, and she's walking along a fence line or something, I guess, on her property. And I hear somebody say, "You're walking?" I mean, the joy that it brought to my heart to know that this child, this beautiful young girl, 15, she's walking. That's a praise report. I mean, what was she going through? What was her life like before? And now just walking is like a milestone, I guess. I don't know her story. I'm going to find out. I'm going to see if there's more to learn there. But man, I mean, everybody I met at Biologix, other patients, mind you, I was there for 4 weeks. I went back for 2 weeks. I went back for another week. I looked for an excuse to go because I now love Franklin, Tennessee. So I've talked to a lot of patients, and literally every person I talked to was there being treated for Lyme disease. I didn't even know. I knew there was a Lyme disease, but I didn't know what it was till I got there. And what I saw, the victims of that disease, that thing, I was almost, well, after a week there, I was feeling so much better. I was like, man, I'm glad I'm not here for Lyme disease. These poor people, what they're going through, and their families, and it's passed through the blood. So you have it, and you have children. So now your children have it. And I see children there being treated. And it's like, a little reminder, hey, Mark, you're there for abnormal cell replication, AKA cancer, I bet you the people that are dealing with Lyme disease are happy they're not dealing with cancer, Healing is taking place there. That's all I can tell you, is that I didn't speak to a person who didn't have some degree of positivity. They're happy they were there. They're a return patient. They're getting the next level. Nobody was disappointed. Nobody was regretting. It is a nurturing, healthy, uplifting, healthy environment to be in, to recuperate, to get an upper hand on whatever it is that you're going through. God sends people to Biologix to work and to get better. Don't look at the money. I mean, it is what it is. If you don't have the money, then okay. But if you do, don't spend it somewhere else. Don't repeat the same thing you've been doing expecting to get different results. Okay? Because the next doctor, physician, medical school graduate person is going to treat you the way Western medicine here in the United States treats sickness and disease, and some are better than others. But unique things are happening at Biologix, totally different than what's happening anywhere else. And if you want a totally different reaction response, then you have to try something totally different. I guess that's my point.